cold.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is not the video I was planning on making. Long story short, I was supposed to go into London yesterday to do some shopping, have a little day out, but for various reasons, me, my mum, my auntie were all feeling a bit under the weather. So we ended up just staying inside and I watched like a season and a half of Friends, which honestly I think is a day well spent. So I was like, I really wanted to film a video, especially because if you follow me on my Instagram, which is here, you will know I'm having some issues with my last video I posted, so I wanted to get something out. And I know that this topic of today's video might not be everyone's cup of tea. It's something I enjoy and this is my channel, so
you can pack your things and leave.
I don't know if the title, I haven't decided what I'm calling this video yet, but I don't think it's going to be very clear on what we're doing today, because even I'm not very sure on what we're doing today. But I was thinking it's been a really long time since I've spoken to you guys about what I'm reading, basically. So I thought I'd go through and I would talk to you guys a bit about what books I have read in the past couple of months and what books I want to read. Sorry if you can hear the rain. It's raining outside and I don't know, I've got my salt lamp and my other star lamp and I fixed my fairy lights, they were broken. So if they switch off like at some point during this video, just ignore it. I'm not gonna fix it again because I was sweating trying to fix them. So anyway, I've rambled on enough. If you guys like this video, if you guys enjoy it, then like the video and subscribe and comment and share and do all the things that everyone always tells you to do, because that makes me feel good. Okay, so February. Next one on what I read was a book that I actually really enjoyed. So it's called The Inheritance Games. I may have potentially spoken about this in my last video, but to give you guys a brief overview on what it's about. So one random girl who lives like a really bad life suddenly becomes super rich because somebody rich dies and he, for whatever reason, wants to give all of his money to her. And so she goes, and the old man that died is like a big fan of puzzles and like mind games and blah blah blah. And she happens to be very good at those. So she tries to figure out, going through all of these like, she basically goes on like a Scooby-Doo adventure to try and figure out why he would give her everything. There are 4 grandsons, all of varying ages and personalities, who are just as confused as her. The whole family are confused about why she's got the money, but I think they're the only ones who are not trying to kill her or don't actively hate her. They're more just curious why. The good thing I like about this book is 4 male characters.
4 female Ghostbusters? The feminists are taking over.
4 male characters. Male characters in general, I find them quite boring. Having 4 of them, all of like a similar age group, they're all grandsons. It was just, I was worried because I was just going to get really confused and not really care about that. Like, I didn't think it was going to go into enough detail for me to differentiate the different people, like the different grandsons. But it actually, like, it was really good how well developed their personalities were. I did really enjoy this book, and you'll see, and I guess if you've been following what I've been reading, you have seen that I'm very much into these like mystery books that have really big twists. So yes, this is a very good book. I definitely recommend it if you like the YA type books. It was really interesting. The next book I read was this one called, and I am really sorry if I mispronounce this, Homo Deus. You know what, I'm just going to search up how to pronounce this. Deus. 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 Okay, so I read this book called Homo Deus, and again, if you keep up with the Star Wars sim reading, you will know I read the first one called Sapiens. So this is a kind of a part 2 of Sapiens. It's different. They definitely don't talk about the same stuff, but I feel like they kind of come in like a pair, because he does have other books which I will show you in a sec, but I feel like Sapiens and Homo Deus kind of like go together, because one's about the past and this one's about the future. And I absolutely adored this book. Like, honestly, like, I loved Sapiens so much, and I was like, there is no way that I could ever beat that book. Like, it was just insanely amazing, and like this just matches up so well. Oh, the way that he explains things, he just thinks about things in a way where you're like, how does your brain even work? Like, why would you even think of something like that? So to summarize what he talks about in this book, and it's going to be a very brief summary because there's just so much he talks about. It's basically about the future of the human race, basically, and he talks about, I'm using the blurb to help remind myself what happens in the book, but he's saying, like, we don't need to worry about war and famine and disease anymore. Obviously, this was written, I think, 2019, so before COVID, so yeah, he's like, we've overcome these things that humans have struggled with literally our entire, like, not lives, but over the entire span of the human race. War, death, famine, plague, like those sorts of things we've kind of overcome as a whole. Obviously not everywhere, but as a generalization. So he's like, what kind of the problems for the future now? What kind of things are we gonna, where is this going to take us, basically? So good. Such a good, honestly, out of all the books that I'm talking about today, I think this one is the one to read. This and Sapiens if you haven't already. So I really like this book. That was the second book I read. So the next book I read was a fiction book called We Were Liars. I like the cover for this. Quite nice. And it's like one big picture. I don't know if this is in focus or not, which I think is quite cool. This was such an amazing book, and I love how short it was as well, but it doesn't feel short when you're reading it. It definitely doesn't feel short, but I like that it's quite fast paced, like the way things move, things are just happening, because obviously you don't have a lot of pages to build things up. And I think the biggest thing is the twist. If you like books with a good twist, this is definitely one to read. It is so, like, oh my gosh, like, you immediately just want to start reading it again. Like, it just, there's like this girl, she's this really rich family, but obviously, like, rich doesn't mean happy, and like family dynamics are just not too great, and like every summer they get together on this island, and there's like 3 of them, there's tons of cousins, and 3 of them are like the oldest ones, and they're the same age. And then there's this other guy who I think was friends with one of the cousins, and so he started coming with them, and I think he might be like mixed. I think he's like at least half I think he's half Indian or something like that. So there's tension there a little bit with like race and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of traumatic things that happen in the girl's life before this book that you get to, like, everything is sort of drip fed to you, which I think is quite nice as well. Yeah, this is definitely a really good book, and it's a nice and short book that doesn't feel short. It's just you happen to get through it quite quickly. I love the way that the plot develops. I think it's really good. The way that they give you information. I rated this one a 5 out of 5 as well. So the next one is, we're back to a non-fiction book, and this is How to Avoid a Climate Disaster by Bill Gates, who is recently divorced, so moment of silence for the marriage. So in geography, both in my lessons and when I attend like webinars for the uni I want to go to. They do like taster geography lectures and stuff, and so every single time I always ask about reading list or what books do you think I should read. And even to my geography teacher, I was like, they haven't given me a reading list, like, do you know what I should read? And I've asked her that like so many times. I'm sure it's getting annoying, but they always talk about this book, and for the longest time I put it off because it is written by Bill Gates. I just don't know if I want a billionaire lecturing me. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do it, blah, blah. But I read what it was about, and it's basically about solutions to climate change, which I think is an interesting concept, because so many of the climate related books I read are so focused on the problems, and the solutions just feel so out of reach, whereas this is like genuine, like he's got really good plans of actions. Like it says the solutions we have and the breakthroughs we need, everything is just explained really well. It's really simple to understand, and it's just really explained very well. And Bill Gates is quite self-aware, which I like. Like he's very much like, I know I'm a rich white man, so like who am I to tell you, but like I have information, so like I feel like I should give it to you to do something with it. Next one is a little out of the usual types of books I've been reading, but it's still YA. So I read this book called Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I'm pretty sure every British teenage girl knows who Rainbow Rowell is. It's set in the 80s, I think, about a girl called Elena and a boy called Park. Elena is like, her family life is really messed up, and she's very like different. She's a very different girl. It almost leads into that I'm not like other girls trope, but not really. She stands out, and not always in a good way. She's a new girl, and Park has a stable enough family life. I think he's Asian, and he's very quiet, very timid, and it's basically just about their lives and their...
What's not clicking? What's not clicking?
Love story. What I like about this book is that even though I guess it is a romance novel, the whole book doesn't just revolve around that. It's like they have very, very developed characters and very, very developed backstories, and there are things that happen to them as separate people. I rated it a 4, but I still think like it's still a really good book, and I still recommend people read this if this is something you're into. I think just for me personally, it doesn't make me feel anxious, if that makes any sense. Like I feel like apprehensive reading the other books, and like that makes like I get like a bit of like an adrenaline thing of like, oh my gosh, like what's gonna happen now. Whereas this was very much more like trudging along, but not in a bad way. It's just very like a typical book, if that makes any sense. But there is some really interesting and tension-filled plot moments. So it's not like this is a boring book at all. It's still a really good book. But yeah. On to the book that I'm currently reading. Oh, it's here. I am reading This Lie Will Kill You by Chelsea Pitcher. I'm approaching halfway. I haven't read in about a week and a few days. I haven't read since the last week of my exams. And so far this is pretty good. I think it took me kind of a while to get into it, just because I think you get really, like, I don't know if connected is the right word, but you get so familiar with the characters in this book that it was hard to like transition to like a whole new group of characters, especially because everything I've been reading has been like fiction, non-fiction, fiction, non-fiction. So to go from one fiction book to another, yeah. So I'm at this point now. I've read this much, and I'm definitely with the characters now. Like I can understand it. And from what I've read so far, it's pretty good. I'm still not quite entirely sure about the plot or what's going on, but I think somebody died a year ago, and I think it's a secret about like who did it or something like that. And so somebody, it's all such a mystery to me at the moment, but somebody invites them all back to this, the people that were there, to this dinner party that they, under the pretense of it being some like college scholarship thing, and they all come, and like things are starting to get a bit weird at this dinner party. It's like it's basically a murder mystery dinner party, but some things are just a bit too real, a bit too related to their personal lives, or a bit too dangerous, or whatever it is. So I'm interested to see where this book will take me, because I have no idea where it's going. The next few books that I'm definitely going to read is this one. It's called Origins: How the Earth Shaped Human History by Lewis Dartnell. I'm very intrigued to see what this book is going to be like. Human evolution in East Africa was driven by geological forces. Ancient Greece developed democracy because of its mountainous terrain, and voting behaviour in the United States today follows the bed of an ancient sea. The next one is my cousin's fiance. Hi Tash Vanjija, if you're watching. Thank you for all of these. He basically gives me all the books that I read, especially like all of these ones, like they're his. I mean, this one is mine because I bought it, but he has it as well and he's going to give it to me. But he gave me this one yesterday. It's called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. I'm not actually quite sure what it's about yet. I'll just quickly read some of the blurb again. How can we protect ourselves from nuclear war or ecological catastrophe? What do we do about the epidemic of fake news or the threat of terrorism? How should we prepare our children for the future? 21 Lessons shows us how to be human in an age of bewilderment. In terms of just general books that I want to read, I definitely want to get into like the classic books and classic literature now, because I feel like I should. Like, as an ex-English student, I should probably read some like actual novels. So I have Little Women here. I watched the movie on my birthday and I really liked it. I watched the one with like Florence Pugh and Timothée Chalamet. So I might read this, and I just want to read things like Jane Austen, things like things like that. Also, I think I'm going to read a French book, I think. Don't hold me to that. But I think I'm going to go for like a YA book for two reasons. One, because that's all I really read. And two, because the language will just be so much more simple. Hi guys. So I was just copying off all the videos for this video. Copying off the clips for this video. And I realised I did not record my whole outro, and I was talking about a lot of things in that, so that's what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to be really concise because I'm quite tired. So I guess it's a good thing for you guys. What I was saying in that is, let me know like what kind of things you want me to do in regards to my book stuff here. So do you want me to continue with writing reviews, or do you want them in a video form? Or do you just want videos about other reading things? Like literally, because I've done a video review before, I think it's up here. And I've obviously written reviews. So let me know what you guys like, and I can do that for you. But I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one.